Hi, I'm Breana Kirkwood, and you may know me from such places as sitting in back of the class. Did you know that if you hold a shell to your ear, you can hear the ocean? In a few hundred years, you'll be able to hear and see it if you just open your front door.
Hey there, Mom.
Sea levels are rising at an alarming rate. According to NASA, over 2.4 billion people, 1/3 of the human population, live within 60 miles of the coast. Rising seas destroy farmland and infrastructure and are displacing people every day. Sea level rise is one of the effects of global warming. Global warming is when the average temperature of the Earth increases. The planet's average surface temperature has risen around 2 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century, with just a majority occurring in the last 35 years. The oceans are absorbing much of this heat, and the effects are pernicious. The rising temperatures cause glaciers and ice sheets to melt and warm the ocean, causing them to expand. Normally, this landlocked ice is replenished through snowpack, and the sea ice that melts in the summer would replenish in the winter. With the planet heating up, this disrupts the cycle, causing accelerated snowmelt as well as decreasing snowfall. Here is a glacier I visited in southeast Alaska near Seward in the year 2000. And here is the same glacier 15 years later when I returned in 2015. As you can see, the changes are stark. All that trapped water that was in the form of ice and snow is now lost at sea. This diagram shows exactly how far the glacier has been receding since 1950. Greenland and Antarctica are home to the largest bodies of ice in the world. The ice sheets are vital to global climate systems. Studies have revealed that meltwater from above and seawater from below are penetrating beneath Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets. The warmer temperatures are causing giant ice shelves to weaken and break off, as seen here. The ice loss from Greenland has contributed to over 1 centimeter of sea level rise since 1992. Ice loss from Antarctica over the same period has contributed about 5 millimeters of sea level rise. Overall, sea levels have risen about 8 inches in the last century, a rate that is double that of the previous century. Sea level rise can seem deceptively small, but just a few inches can change the odds. For example, 1 foot of rise can push a shoreline back 2 miles. 3 feet can change the coast 6 miles, and so on. Low-level sitting communities all over the world are looking for solutions to protect their homes and their properties. In Venice, Italy, they have constructed an integrated system of gates called moats, which is designed to protect the city from flooding. It is set up so that at high tide the gates close, isolating the city from the sea. Miami Beach and New York have begun plans to take preventative measures against flooding as well. Miami has a $100 million flood project on board and is estimated to break ground in 2018. The plan is to raise the streets 2 feet, install pumps and water mains, and redo sewer connections. While this sounds like a good plan, homeowners worry that raising the streets could cause the water to flood onto their properties. New York has a $1 billion flood prevention plan funded by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. The most costly part of this project is a $332 million U-shaped berm that will hug the east side of Lower Manhattan. This will shield about 10 miles of coastline, creating an isolating flood zone and a slew of recreational areas that will be inhabited by a salt-resistant vegetation. Some places are not so lucky, such as Bangladesh, for example. They do not have the resources these other countries have, and without any help, they are watching their homes and crops be carried out to sea. This has propelled migrations of entire villages, retreating with little to nothing to the closest cities. It gets worse for other countries, such as the small South Pacific island nation of Kiribati. Lying no higher than 6 feet, Kiribati has been imposed upon by the rising waters. Their government bought property 1,000 miles away in Fiji and have urged a migration of its people. The Pacific Northwest is vulnerable to sea level rise too. Scientists project a 6-foot sea level rise by the year 2100. Warrenton, near Astoria, would lose nearly 5,000 homes. Portland, Oregon, which is only 80 miles inland from the Oregon coast, may one day be partially underwater too. Urban planner Jeffrey Lynn created maps that show what Portland would look like if both Greenland and the Antarctic Peninsula melted. This would raise the sea level by 264 feet. In Portland, the city and surrounding areas would become the Islands of Portland. St. John's would become St. John's Port, and Selwood would become Selwater. So the question begs to be asked, can we slow this process down? And the answer is yes. While sea level rise is inevitable, cutting greenhouse gas emissions can help slow the rate of rise over the long term. Another recent study done by the National Center of Atmospheric Research estimated that the aggressive steps to cut emission could reduce the amount of sea level rise by somewhere between 6 and 20 inches by 2100, compared with our current trajectory. Unless we do something soon, rent isn't going to be the only thing rising here in Portland.